How's it going, everybody? For USCScoop.com, I'm Pete Gearson here with Scott Schrader after USC defeats Arizona 41-17 here at the. No, it wasn't 41-17, was it? 41-40, my bad. How's it going, everybody? For USCScoop.com, I'm Pete Gearson alongside Scott Schrader as USC just defeated University of Arizona 41-14. Bit of a sloppy game, lots of injuries on the USC side. But the key tonight for me, Scott, was the USC defense just wreaked havoc on Khalil Tate.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising in that you don't normally expect USC to have 5 sacks in the first quarter against Arizona with Khalil Tate at quarterback. So it was impressive. They were getting after him. It looked like the defensive scheme that they had for Arizona was rock solid, and the execution was also. So, obviously in order to get those sacks, the defensive backfields has to do their job, and I think they, as young as they are, that's a talented group of DBs that USC has. So, I think, from a defensive standpoint, they've got to be extremely happy. Turnovers, I don't know what kind of penalties they had, watching on the field, but you probably know a little bit more about that.
They had 8 penalties, and a lot of them were excessive celebration, which has kind of been a theme for USC lately. The reason they're excessive is because they're unnecessary. But when a guy like Keenan Christian scores his first career touchdown, I think you could let him celebrate a little bit. I don't know if Clay's going to get extremely...
Well, if we're going to start talking about those kind of penalties, first of all, Kanai Mauga doesn't need to throw the ball 50 yards in the air after an interception. So, but those are the type of penalties that in past games have potentially cost USC a chance to win those football games. So, the Keenan Christian penalty, it was kind of like when Marquise Stepp handed the ball, or when it went to shake hands with Reggie Bush. I mean, come on, give me a break. Brian Kelly was on the frickin' football field.
And nothing got called.
Yeah, so,
EA hit Book right when he threw the ball, and it's a roughing the pass.
Right.
But we don't have to get into penalties.
Listen, let me finish with this. USC needs to eliminate those penalties.
Yeah.
We know it's bullshit.
If they want to win big games, they got to eliminate.
Correct. So, you're going to have Oregon here. And are you going to get away with having those penalties against Oregon like you can against Arizona? Well, probably not.
Exactly. But, yeah, let's talk about the positives. Yep. You mentioned Mauga totally showed out tonight. Forced a fumble on a beautiful punch-out play. Got his first career interception. And then led the team with 11 tackles, a couple assisted sacks. I mean... I didn't know much about this guy coming in. You kind of told me that you saw him earlier on in his career.
Well, Kanai came for a camp at USC before, 6 months before he enrolled here, and I watched this guy do 4 or 5 reps chasing. It was the one-on-one drills at the Rising Stars camp, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? So after the morning session, I ran to try and find somebody that knew who he was. So this guy was an extremely talented athlete. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know how much they know how to play football.
Yeah, raw.
Very raw, but an exceptionally talented dude. This guy works hard, he plays hard, and he's a big asset to this football program.
He's a big asset, and then Keenan Christian is a big asset.
Yes. He
comes in, of course it's because of a bunch of injuries, just a slew of injuries tonight. Drake Jackson with a high ankle sprain. He told Scott. Talanoa Hufanga has a shoulder injury. He just can't seem to stay away from the injury bug because these guys are such key cogs on this USC defense. And then you have Marquise Stepp go down, Stephen Carr go down, who you said you saw at halftime, and Carr said he was
Stephen walked out of the tunnel, and I asked him, I gave him the thumbs up or thumbs down. He gave me a thumbs up and said he's ready to go. I suppose if he would have been all that they had left at running back, maybe they would have.
If it was the Pac-12 championship,
right,
he'd get in.
But they had Marquise, and they had Jounty, and they had,
Keenan.
Keenan. It's Kenan.
It's not Keenan.
It's Keenan.
So we got Keenan. No.
There you go. We're gonna do Oprah. David. Anyway.
So for a freshman running back, we all knew he had the speed. He was a former track star. And as soon as he got even with a guy, he just took off.
He was the state champion in the 100 and 200 meter, and he was breaking records. So we knew how fast he was. But what's surprising, and a lot of times when guys are really fast and they're track guys, they're not really tough. and they're not going to block for you, and they're going to be one-dimensional. Keenan can block. He can protect the quarterback. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he can run, and you saw how he can run, and he can score touchdowns from the 20-yard line, which they have been missing since Rojo left.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
We don't know how much he's going to play going forward.
What do you think going forward?
Well, they have 4 extremely talented scholarship running backs.
And I think they're giving Marquise Stepp a little more trust now, a little more playing
and
time.
they've had to. And they've had to increase, but now he has to play more, and he is. So these guys are taking advantage of the reps. I think, this is the conversation I have with some of the players. We're talking about the young defensive backs, and we're talking about the running backs, and you can go to the linebackers and defensive linemen and so on. I think what we're seeing is how talented USC really is to be able to overcome. Jalen McKenzie put it. He goes, it just seems like we're snake bit, and gosh, how can you argue with that?
Yeah.
It's just USC has dealt with a lot of adversity this season, and we'll see how they can overcome it going forward. But I think this is a really good football team. USC is.
And you've been saying that, and people sometimes give you flack for it, but I think it kind of showed tonight. The depth is there when your top 2 running backs, top 3 go down, you pull off a guy off the bench like that, who you said is a guy that's got to play because he's a guy that's may only stick around for 3 years. And
redshirting skill position guys makes no sense to me anymore.
Yeah,
because if they're really good, they're not staying 4 years.
Yeah, you said linemen may have to take that red shirt and
they need more developing and
time. Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes those guys really don't reach their peak until their 5th year.
Yeah, but the good news is even with the injuries, guys like Chase Williams are still stepping up and in the back for the cornerbacks, and I was just impressed with the line. J.T. Fale, we all know, is a stud. But guys, Khalil Tate just couldn't get comfortable out there at all. It was a nightmare. He threw for 47 yards in the game. They pulled him for the backup quarterback, and just nothing was going. The USC he had no time in the pocket. He was getting flushed out. He had to take some coverage sacks. He had to run out of bounds. And I think that's just a testament to Clancy Pendergast's defense and that front line of guys just getting after it. And then you got a guy like Mauga who comes out of nowhere, really, a no-name.
Well, when you look at this game, you can look at USC executed on offense, well enough to score a really decent amount of points. Arizona's not really that good of a football team. They're not terrible, but they're not really that strong. And they had some injuries today too, so it's a lot harder for them to overcome this stuff than it is for USC. But USC created turnovers.
Which is usually the opposite. Usually USC loses the turnover battle, but tonight, from the start, those first 2 turnovers, those first 10 points for USC were really just gifts. A muff punt, and then Mauga's fumble that he punched out. So really, those 10 points were given to the Trojans. And I just appreciate the defense's drive, and even late in the game, you kind of feel the pride that they almost wanted to shut out this team on homecoming night in front of a decent crowd.
Sure.
First time they've played here in a month. And
but USC played everybody tonight.
Yeah.
So that was also nice, and you can start doing this time of year also because these guys get to play 4 games and still redshirt. So right now if they do want to redshirt guys, which again somebody like Keenan Kristen, he's going to have his degree and he's going to be ready to leave in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it. So whether he's getting his reps now. I just don't see any reason to save somebody like him.
Yeah.
If you need him 5 games from now,
Go for it.
You play this dude.
It felt like a very business-like win tonight. And talking to players after, talking to Slovis, they weren't too high, too low. Of course, the injuries make it a little bit of a downer, but it was a very business-like win. Just quickly talk about the recruits that were in the house tonight.
I didn't see them all, but this was one of the more impressive groups of recruits that we've seen maybe all year. Stanford was pretty good, but you had 4 extremely talented guys that were from Washington. I think headlined, if that's how we put it, with Julian Simon, class of 2021. He's probably a top 25 guy in the nation. And you had L.V. Bunkley, and you had Gary Bryant Jr., and you had some linemen.
Gary Bryant Jr., Centennial guys, friends with Drake Jackson.
So, it's looking more and more like it's going to be really difficult to beat USC for Gary Bryant. And I think if USC's gone all in, we'll talk to L.V. Bunkley, Shelton. I think USC would be the team to beat with him. But there were a lot of guys here, and I think, they see these games from a lot different perspective than we do. They kind of like will see the final score, and they'll see USC scoring touchdowns and completing passes, and a running back running, like Keenan Kristen, and they're like, wow, yeah, that was pretty good.
And we were talking about before, some of these guys, want to transfer out because they don't get playing time
Yeah.
right away. And you said there's no set formula for playing time at college. Injuries in football in general, it can change on a dime. You can have
That's right.
JT Daniels starting one day and an 18-year-old the next.
Yep.
And Matt Fink getting reps in too. So
Keith and Slovis, right?
yeah. So guys, like Chris Steele, who jumped around Florida, Oregon. Now he's starting at USC at cornerback, and the reason he didn't want to come here initially because he thought there was enough room for him.
No, he didn't think USC was a program that was going in the right direction. Which the irony of it is that he Greg Burns is arguably doing as good a job as any defensive back coach in the country right now with USC's young defensive backs. So I think things work out for a reason, and you have Brew McCoy, who he's not playing right now, but went to Texas and found out that there are a lot of guys that
found out that California,
right? There's a lot of guys right now that are looking right now. They're committed to schools out of state, and they're going to go through the same thing.
Yeah. All right. Quickly looking forward. What do you see going into next week? A short week on the road and probably a cold environment, and then we got Oregon coming here.
Man, I don't know what to think because Colorado scored 10 points against Wazoo.
Yeah.
And if you're scoring 10
UCLA
points against Washington State,
60.
There you go. It was a basketball game for UCLA. So yeah, it's a Friday night game. It's on the road. It's probably going to be cold.
Yep.
It's just hard for me to imagine Colorado keeping up with you. It's probably going to be a lot like tonight.
And then what about Oregon?
I think USC is a good enough team to beat Oregon. Let's just see where all these injuries.
Yeah,
we
that's
just
gonna
don't
be
know
key.
what the final outcomes.
We don't even know what the roster is going to be.
I mean, look, USC was without Christian Rector and Drake Jackson tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure you can. USC's
Well, they
got
had Drake
talent.
Jackson for
Well, I know, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
At a certain point of this
yeah.
football game, they were with. So next week they're going to be without Drake, and I don't know what Christian's status is, but I think both those guys will probably be back for Oregon, and that'll be fine. But we just don't know with all these injuries. It's kind of crazy right now.
I think the one thing we do know is that USC is a much different team here at the Coliseum compared to on the road. On the road, they just sometimes don't show up. They played well in South Bend. We'll give them that. And
this is a different USC football team than last year. You have to just discard Washington. You can't look at Washington and go, oh, USC wouldn't. That game. I mean, come on. They had their third string quarterback in, and
you said it countless times. Other teams with third string quarterback, Utah with third string quarterback, they wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's just difficult because USC had two quarterbacks who really had good fall camps, and Matt Fink didn't have a bad fall camp, but Matt Fink is probably as good as he's going to be, and Keaton Slovis is the guy who's going to get better every week, and he's more talented too.
I talked to Kevin Sumlin after the game, and he said that he's got a bright future, Slovis, and nothing really impressed him or surprised him tonight.
Yeah,
but he's just a solid guy, and he can see that.
But Tom Brady doesn't impress anybody.
Yeah,
except with his wins and Super Bowl rings. I'm impressed by
his wife,
those.
maybe,
but Tom Brady is